We're now at the end of this convention, and I want to begin with a more big picture here. How important was this gathering of the Liberals for the Prime Minister, the PMO, for this party to have the delegates here and to convey the message that we heard about building Canada strong? How important was that?
I think it was hugely important. And, this weekend was a big group hug for Liberals from right across the country. It's the first gathering since the election. And, a year ago, nobody necessarily thought that we'd be having the biggest convention of all time. And I think that there was just a sigh of relief and just a pure joy, not to be corny, but it really was about wanting to see in firsthand for so many people what we've actually accomplished, what they're working on, just to see the whole team, both the elected and all of those people who work so hard on the ground, come together and kind of enjoy it a little bit. It's been a really, really positive vibe here.
Okay, so that's the Liberal perspective. Cole, you're the stranger in the strange land. How did you interpret it?
Yeah, I think this was a victory lap for the Liberals. If we're talking about a year ago, that's when polls were starting to climb back up. Carney was elected Liberal leader, and then the polls snapped right back to where they were. The Liberals, they shot up to 50 points in Atlantic Canada. They took Quebec, they took Ontario, and now here this weekend we're seeing that victory lap. A lot of happy people in the room. There's some new people in the room. As a conservative, I got to say everyone's been very friendly, but I think that's the point here with the Liberals is they're very friendly to the Conservatives who are looking to cross the floor, and they're trying to get more and more. We keep hearing those rumors, and I think that they have an interesting premise in front of them because now they are able to expand their tent very far. It's more elastic than it's ever been. But what happens when it snaps back? Is the material that this cabinet and government Liberal caucus is made of strong enough to withstand political weather based on what it's built out of right now?
Well, and beyond that, too, and we should name it, Marilyn Gladu, the former Conservative MP who on the Thursday before this convention began, crossed the floor to join the Liberals, the fourth Conservative to do so, the fifth member of Parliament to do so. The speculation is that there could be more to come. Speculation. We don't know for a fact what is coming down the pipes. But that said, that it was welcomed by many, but also in the hallways of this convention center, there was a lot of talk amongst progressive Liberals, openly questioning just what does it mean about the future of this party and what the party actually stands for, whether or not there's any ideological stance, what happens to the more progressive vote, or is this a majority at any cost? How divisive can that be for this party, Michelle?
Well, the most important thing is, and I think that it was great that the Prime Minister had the opportunity, in terms of the timing, to be able to say to everybody, she's joining us. We stand for our values. You heard him in the speech here, right? We stand for a woman's right to choose. We stand for inclusiveness. We stand for choice, and that's who we are as a party. Marilyn came over, eyes wide open about what she was joining and what we stand for. There's no compromise at all. And if people want to join a party that has these values, Mark Carney is saying, yeah, the door is absolutely open because he's trying to do something bigger, right? His Build Canada agenda, he sees room for all in it. And right now, certainly it seems that not only in the Conservative caucus is that kind of somewhat popular, but amongst Canadians as well. He's hitting the right mark. And I think that, it's just really important that you don't compromise. And he didn't, and we didn't.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of how potentially divisive this might be?
Well, we'll see how it plays out in terms of how Ms. Gladu ends up voting in the House of Commons. Apparently, she had these deep conservative principles that she jettisoned immediately when she was offered a spot in the Liberal caucus. And, you're not part of the government. You didn't get into cabinet. Was the allure of the Liberal backbench that strong that you jettisoned everything you said you used to campaign about? But here's the magic, if you can call it that, what I'll call about the Liberal Party of Canada. It can mean whatever they want it to mean. The Liberal Party has a million different definitions, and now you're going from Stephen Guilbeault to Marilyn Gladu. you, what do those caucus meetings look like? And as we get down the road in terms of the Alberta-Ottawa MOU, if we actually get some pipelines built, we have green dissension in the ranks in the Liberal caucus, and now we have a social conservative element. And the Liberal Party used to have that in the 2000s. There was pro-life MLAs or MPs, I should say, in the Liberal caucus. So now I think the Liberal Party is even more elastic than it used to be.
Okay. Listen, we'll see the fallout of the Marilyn Gladu floor crossing this week when Parliament gets back to business. But it was a bit of a veiled reference, but I couldn't help but think of Pierre Poilievre and thinking that this line in the Mark Carney speech was about Pierre Poilievre, since he's been touring the United States talking about his vision for furthering Canada's economic well-being. And this is what we hear in the Prime Minister's speech. Some are still in denial. Rather than starting this journey, they're waiting for the past to return. But hope isn't a plan, and nostalgia is not a strategy. If we stand still during this rupture, we will surrender our future to others. How much of that was a reference to Pierre Poilievre, do you think?
I think it was, certainly it touched upon probably what he did, but it's also about those doubters out there who just, are trying to hold on, that Trump is only going to be there for another 2 years, or that the midterms in the U.S. are magically going to make it, that from before, right, the good old days. And I think what the Prime Minister is saying, and I think that it's being recognized around the world, things are changed, right? International order, international kind of norms, they are no more. And we don't know what comes after Donald Trump, but we can't make our bed and bet on that. We've got to bet on ourselves. And that's what he's been talking about this weekend. That's what his agenda is about. We will welcome trade with the Americans. We will welcome a much better circumstance and NAFTA renewed, and we absolutely want that. And the Prime Minister's been clear about that. But we're not going to put all our eggs in that proverbial basket, right? Let's spread our eggs out, and let's make sure that we have more independence. And I think that that's kind of the vision that he's looking for. And I think that he's just, reminding Canadians that we can do it. It's going to be hard, but let's not count on anybody else. Let's just count on ourselves.
What do you make of that reference in the speech there, Cole?
Well, I think it's kind of, I always laugh when the Liberals say nostalgia is not a strategy unless they're campaigning, that they will pull on, Mike Myers or whoever they want to appeal to some Canada that hasn't existed in decades and doesn't look good for a lot of people who are just struggling to get by. So I think what Mark Carney Liberals need to do here, this was great for them to rally the troops, wave the flag and say this is what our mission is for Canada. And they do undeniably own the Trump and tariff issue. If they can stick on that, they can probably win again. But unless they put there's proof in the pudding, they put some wins in the window, unless they get a pipeline built, they can actually get some things done for the country, that'll be the actual difference between whether they contend again in the next election. And there will be debates between Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney as we watch them both go forward to see who can best represent that vision and capture the minds of Canadians. But when it comes to the U.S. issue, there's no doubt that Mark Carney and the Liberals have an advantage there.
Okay, well, as you say, that is the end of the Liberal National Convention. We'll see how this plays out in the days and the weeks to come. But Michelle, Cole, thank you very much. I always appreciate the time.
Thanks.
Great to be here.